Hello and welcome to another fast-paced, minute-by-minute episode of Absolute Bedlam Podcast. Hope everyone's well. I have been flat out since probably 8 a.m. this morning, so I'm probably going to crash in this episode. So I want to apologise quickly in advance to Daniel from SickSet Media, but I've just been literally skipping on stones all evening. I've just had to eat my dinner in front of Dan, so thank you for putting up with that.
I feel
Makes
like
it
you're putting me on
annoying.
pressure to just keep you awake, but
Yeah,
I think
just
I can do it. I'm up to the challenge.
lumping. I've got some Lucozade energy, so let's see what happens. But yeah,
Nice.
how's your day been? You well?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. It's been pretty busy. Coming back into the new year has been significantly more busy than I was ever expecting it to be, but it's all great. It's not for something
Yeah,
that I should be complaining about. So yeah, no,
yeah,
all good.
awesome. So we kind of, oh God, I don't even know how we met. Probably through emails and Instagram, maybe.
It could have been either one of two. It would have been reaching out to you on behalf of SickSet Media,
Hmm.
or it would have been my previous band Borders being pitched to you potentially from Hold Tight PR.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a couple of like PR people on my sort of newsletters, sort of peripheral vision.
Hmm.
At one point, I got offered Ocean's 8 Alaska, but I just couldn't commit to getting the episode out as quickly as they wanted it to.
Oh, that's a shame. That would
And
have been a
I've
good one.
managed to speak to the PR that knows Seven Dust, which was mental.
Mm.
But they just released a single. And I was like, I don't know if I can actually interview someone for an hour about a single. And they were like, oh, we're only doing US press at the moment. So I was like, that's fine then. That's just, if you don't ask, you don't get in this world, as I'm sure you can
Yeah, fair
relate.
enough.
But yeah, so yeah, SickSet Media. Let's get into that in a little bit. I usually ask the first two questions to every guest at the beginning. So yeah, how did you find school life?
School life. I feel like that's a loaded question to people that are
Yeah.
interested in alternative music.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
interesting. I had long black hair that went to my shoulders, which was straight, and only wear black clothing because that's the way to go. Just band t-shirts, it's the way to go. And yeah, obviously I was the complete alpha of my year group, naturally. So
Yeah. Born to lead, forced to follow.
exactly. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, there's not really much more I could tell you there.
Did you find yourself subscribing to like a clique, or were you a bit nomadic?
No, yeah, no, I was certainly part of a clique. Again, I imagine quite a few of your guests are in a very similar sort of boat, but yeah, people are drawn to each other, especially in
Mm.
the community of rock and metal. There is a very heavy community amongst that, and you can't kind of deny there is a bit of a pull. And yeah, I was part of a group of people at school. There must have been sort of 15 to 20 of us, I would say, that were all into, heavier music and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we had our own little gang, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. And the second question that's school related is what's the naughtiest thing you or someone else can remember from school? How crazy did it get?
Oh my God. Okay, so I mean, so I went to a school called Yarborough in Lincoln, which is or was known as one of the might get might get gypped for this, but one
Yeah.
of the rougher schools.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very highbrow. They're quite a rough place. And I saw a lot of bad stuff happen, quite a lot, and I don't know which ones are PG enough. There was this. It's going to sound like I'm just reenacting, well, not reenacting, but re-explaining a porno. There was a kid that was in our year group who, again, no names because I'm pretty sure this would be illegal. But he essentially slept with a university student who was who'd come over to be like a teaching assistant to kind of like, mirror and learn how to be a teacher, etc. And pictures were put around, and it was not a fake, it wasn't a joke, it was a real thing, which is
Yeah.
absolutely mental. Um, that's kind of like an everyday event at the school that I went to, though. So I feel like that in itself is very out there, shocking, and illegal. And that's just one day.
Yeah.
Um, the things that went on at that school were really, really quite rough. We also had a PE teacher called Mr. Challenger, if you can believe it, and he did live up to the name of his last name, and would borderline push kids over if they were just bad at PE. So he
Oh,
really would challenge you if you were not good at football.
oh,
Yeah,
cool.
not
Yeah.
not not the best place. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I
You
am very,
painted a
very
picture.
happy that I am no longer there.
You've painted a picture with just a few strokes of a brush there, I think.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want me to go on, trust me.
I don't know who wrote this joke. There's a comedian that wrote a joke about a teacher sleeping with a student, and it was in America. It was actually a news article,
Mm,
and it was something like a 21-year-old man slept with
mm.
like a 40-year-old woman, and he died afterwards because he got high-fived to death.
Oh, you know that kid that had sex with his high school teacher? He died of high-fiving.
You would be a legend. You'd get a statue, I
Yeah,
reckon.
yeah.
I can't remember who wrote that joke, but I think it's such a ridiculously accurate statement. So SickSet Media, it's a bit of a weird segue from that, but let's try and cleanse the room a little bit.
You
Um,
got it.
how did this sort of PR campaign and passion come alive? How did it all start?
So initially, just general interest in music started when I was very, very young, which then led me to go through all of kind of the academic route. So I went to something called Access to Music, which I believe is now called Access Creative, maybe, because they've branched out beyond music, but
Yeah,
they're essentially just colleges that specialize in just the creative arts. Um, Spent 2 years there and did a level three course, which was great. And then I went to university and did audio production. And whilst that was all going on, I made the band. I was one of the founders for the band Borders, which I founded with Gav, who's a good friend and one of my oldest friends. We started out as kind of a bit of a university project. So it was just me, one of my uni friends, Tom, and Gav, and another guy called Luke that just kind of had this metal core techie kind of band that we'd put together
mm,
mainly for a bit of fun. We weren't super serious about it. But as time went on, I've learned that apparently if it involves music and project related work, I just can't not take it seriously. I have to take it seriously every single time. So we
exactly
initially
the same.
started it as this is going to be a bit of
Yeah.
fun. And
Mm,
then before you know it, I've got spreadsheets out of trying to find promoters.
mhm.
I'm looking up
Yeah.
all the PR agencies that exist and who they've worked with, and if they'd consider working with us, and networking with other bands, and watching YouTube videos on how to get your band out there and all sorts of stuff. Right. And I
Yeah.
just went down a real rabbit hole. So
Mhm.
everything was centered on music initially. And then it became almost an obsession of figuring out how do you get your music out there because it's such a saturated market. It's crazy. Everybody wants to be a rock star. So I then fell into digital marketing, which I have now been in for well over a decade. I've worked for not-for-profits. I've worked for environmental and sustainability. I've worked for engineering global companies. I've worked in entertainment, etc. Um, and naturally, as Borders came to a bit of an end a couple of years ago, um, I wanted to stay in an industry that I love, that's full of people that are as passionate as I am about what we like to talk about. So um, I figured, what's the best way to do it? I can either make another band, which I have no interest in doing at this point of my life, already done all the little bucket list things that little 10-year-old Dan would be really proud of. How can I potentially turn this into a sustainable career? So I've taken my profession, 10 years plus a digital marketing experience, and my passion being rock and metal, merged them together, and huzzah, we now have SickSet Media.
Let's go. So SickSet Media is your full-time job, is that correct?
Is my primary income.
Wow, that's amazing. That's like the ultimate example of turning your hobby into a job and actually still not wanting to like put a gun in your mouth, you know? Because
It's
yeah,
been it's
it's
it's been
difficult, isn't
very, very, very difficult.
it?
And it's taken an awful lot of work. I've, without sounding like the cliche businessman, I have been working, you know, 50-hour days at times,
Yeah.
especially in the earlier sort of first year of setting up the agency in order to get it, um, I dare say, reputable to some degree. We're
Mm.
still very, very small. But all of the work that we do, when you are such an early agency, you cannot afford to make mistakes. You cannot afford to not deliver, because the moment you do that, you have a mark against your name as a very small agency that's trying to make a name for itself, and then it will fail immediately. So it's been tough, but I'm very lucky and very happy that we're at where we're at now, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping we develop more as we go into the coming years.
Yeah. Amazing. How many are you? How many of you are there in SickSet Media? How many people?
There are four of us at the moment.
Okay.
So there's myself, there's Max, who's our publicist, there is Crystal, and there is Miles, who are our digital marketing.
Awesome. What services do you provide as SickSet Media?
So a mix of PR and radio plugging, so more your traditional promotion, and then digital marketing is our initial bread and butter. So we started out just with digital marketing, and then we've pivoted into a full promotional service that also provides PR and radio plugging. So in a nutshell, YouTube advertisement, Meta advertisement, and PR and radio plugging are our three core services.
Because I get your emails frequently saying, this band's just released a new single and they're off on tour with this other band. And one thing that I do think, I'm not saying that you guys are a record label, but one thing I do see a lot is the pairing of bands and how bands can complement each other.
Mm,
Because I've personally been on band lineups in the past that are like pop punk, rock, metalcore, grindcore, and it's great if you're in that sort of shift mindset throughout the night. But
mm,
I can see why hardcore bands go on tour with other hardcore bands.
yeah.
And I think that's actually a really important thing where that can very easily get overlooked. Like the track listing on an album is usually designed specifically for songs to flow into each other, you know?
Mm,
So yeah, I think that's like super underrated skill is, check these guys out on tour with these guys. And yeah, so is that something that one of your guys sort of actively tries to do, or is that just the bands? Because a lot of bands are very peer-to-peer nowadays, aren't they? They message each other rather than
mm.
going to a Dominion and answering to
Yeah.
people.
I mean, in terms of actual lineups of, tours and festivals and things like that, of
Yeah,
course, we haven't got any involvement with that. But with the
yeah,
press releases that we send out, and it's very different for all agencies. You can look at a press release from us and another one from a different agency, and it will be formatted slightly differently. There will be information that's a lot more forthcoming from one agency versus another. Ours, we always like to have for fans of right at the start
yeah,
of the body of the email, simply because we feel that it's respectful of people's time. If we're pitching out to a media that specializes in black metal and we've got a prog rock band,
mm,
we want them to know if they receive that press release, if they do, um, they know that it's not for them, straight off the back, and they don't have to read 500 words worth of a press release to figure that
mm,
out.
mm,
But also with regards to kind of that for fans of, we make that decision ourselves in conjunction with the band as well. So when we bring somebody on to SickSet Media, we provide them with our onboarding form, and that onboarding form requests certain information from the band. So of course we can make our own informed decisions as people that like rock and metal music, but at the same time we want to know who are the artists trying to sound like, what kind of vibe are they going for,
Mm.
because that falls into the story that we're going to put together. So on that onboarding form are questions such as that.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Are all bands on SickSet Media's roster currently UK based, or do you go further afield?
We do go further afield. In terms of uh, roster with respect to us having bands that are essentially signed to us as an agency, we don't work like that. So we're client by client, month by month. Um, we believe in that for, well, two reasons. One of them is, again, the fact that we're a developing agency in general, so we don't really want to tie ourselves down too much. But secondly, it offers transparency and honesty and ease of a relationship between us, again, as a new agency, and an artist, because if they feel that they aren't a great fit for us, or we feel that they're not a great fit for us after we've ran 3 press releases or we've done X, Y, and Z digital marketing campaigns, then there's no pressure to kind of be tied down. So we are working ad hoc with artists on a global basis.
Mm. Fair enough. How long roughly have you been 4 people strong as SickSet Media?
The last 2 years, 18 months to 2 years, roughly.
Have you come across any really significant challenges that have forced you, for example, to stay up late to try and fix? Or have there been growing problems within the business as you've expanded?
No growing problems as we've expanded, but Meta is the bane of my life. It
Okay.
really is. So I mean, a lot of people that aren't even marketers, I'm sure, have had, issues with their profiles on Instagram or Facebook, or, if you run a page, probably as well.
Mhm.
But if you are running a business manager account that is connected to over 100 other bands, and then your business manager account suddenly gets deactivated, that's kind of bad, because all of the campaigns that you're running that you need to be able to access, you suddenly can't access. So we have had that before. It was a mistake essentially from Meta's AI, where they thought that we were doing something dodgy, essentially. So we managed to get on a call with Meta support team within a couple of hours and straighten everything out. But that initial hour was absolutely terrifying because, of course, when you're dealing with such a huge business that is Meta
Mm.
and you're such a tiny, tiny fish, um, you you don't, and you're experiencing that for the first time, you really don't know how long is this going to go on for? Because if we've
Yeah.
got 10 active clients that month and we can't access their campaigns, that's pretty terrifying. But fortunately, we now have a couple of direct contacts to Meta, which is very, very helpful. But their support is significantly better nowadays than it used to be. So we were all fine in the end, but that initial hour, I was definitely panicking.
I've definitely felt that sort of stranglehold of Instagram since I've been doing this for nearly 6 years, where I sometimes forget which profile I'm on, if I'm on my own personal profile or if I'm on the Absolute Bedlam profile.
Mm,
And there have been a couple of times in the past where I've commented on something and I've like put a swear word in. And to be fair, Meta actually say you probably shouldn't put this. And I just go, fuck this. Like, I'm doing it. And
yeah.
I've actually had, I think, maybe one warning or one violation. It's a very American term. Um, and I have to really check myself when I do that because I think actually Instagram is my biggest platform other
Mm,
than YouTube. And essentially, you got to drop the ego and be like, am I actually big enough to operate without this? And unfortunately, we all have to sort of kiss the ring and bow down a little bit, don't we? Because, they look after Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. So
Yeah.
if you get blacklisted from Meta, that is a significant change in your flow of work. So yeah, you kind of have to bite your tongue a little bit sometimes, don't you? And I've seen
Yeah.
lots and lots of creators have problems with getting banned and their profile just gets deleted and then they've got to contact Meta and hope that they can get their profile back or God forbid they've got to start again from scratch and
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's just a headache,
We've
isn't it?
Yeah, we've seen some real horror stories, and we've also had clients come to us before where a great, I mean, there's loads and loads of issues that we've seen in the past, but a really common one is if someone has made a Instagram, Facebook, business manager, etc., for their band, and then they've left the band,
Yeah, okay.
and then you've just got all these people that have got access to a thing but because they didn't make it, they're not the admin for it. So then
Mm,
when they need to partner with us for us to act as their agency and help them with campaigns, they're unable to do so because
mm,
it's some random band member that's no longer a part of the band. And you just have to hope that they're still on good terms with that person, because if not, kind of screwed, you know? So,
yeah,
but yeah, it is a bit of a headache, but it's just, it comes with the
mm,
territory. And this is all the negative stuff. But in terms of all the positive stuff, we've done some great work for a lot of bands on the digital marketing side in
mm,
terms of retention across digital service providers like Spotify and Apple. And in being able to achieve that, we've then gathered data without getting too nerdy about it, where we're then able to sell. So a lot of bands complain about, I get 0.0001p from a stream on Spotify. Fully understand that, and that is super frustrating, and it shouldn't be that way.
mm,
But running campaigns strictly to Spotify from Meta is not the end game. It's a benefit in being able to grow Spotify in terms of your followers, saves, etc. But all of those people that have gone over to Spotify, if we do our campaign correctly, we add all of those people into a custom audience that we're then able to remarket to. So we're able to see if somebody has liked a band, taken action with a band, gone out of their way from doom scrolling to go and listen to that music and check them out on Spotify. That in itself is quite a big feat. And all of those people, we've just got a list of them. So when you want to sell merchandise, when you want to sell vinyl, when you want to
mm,
sell tickets,
mm.
they're the people you want to put these ads to, because no one's going to buy a t-shirt from a band that they've literally never listened to before.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
yeah, it's good. The stuff that we're doing for bands is great, but of course, under the hood, with most things, there are the occasional issues. But it's a
yeah.
part of what we're here for. We're here to fix those problems. So
Yeah.
it's not really an issue for the most part that the client has to deal with. We're kind of the
Mm.
fixers, um, in most cases.
Yeah, because recently I bought a shirt from a band called Russian Circles, and I
Mm,
searched on Google. I'm still not really on the AI train outside of work at the moment.
mm,
But I said like Russian Circles merch UK, and I don't know what's going on at Russian Circles HQ because they are a very, very successful band, but they've
mm,
got three merch stores. They've got one in America, they've got one in the UK, and they've got one somewhere else. So you have to go to a website called Evil Greed that deal with all of the UK fulfillment for Russian
hmm.
Circles' merch.
Yeah,
And I found that out so much quicker from using Spotify versus going on this little journey of finding all of this stuff out myself by Googling it. And it
yeah,
was pretty seamless and pretty frictionless. And I know Spotify gets a lot of shit. And there's also this big thing where the CEO has a huge stock stake in AI weaponry or something. But until you can find me a better version of Spotify, I'm unfortunately gonna keep paying for it
yeah.
because
It's like what you said about
everything I need.
Meta. It's like what you said about
Yeah.
Meta is, there's nothing you can do about it. You don't have
Mm.
to agree with it. Vast majority of people don't. But unfortunately, you either
Yeah.
get on the train or you don't, you know?
The devil you know and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm not a huge fan of when Spotify suddenly, increase my monthly subscription price by £2. But like I said,
Yeah.
if I hover over to Tidal, and there's no podcasts on Tidal, then I'm fooked because
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've recently just changed my phone over from an iPhone to an Android phone, so I can't get Apple Music, I don't think. I might actually be able to do that. I just haven't really thought about that. But the familiarity of like Spotify, you know what I mean? I've used it for so long that I'm like quite hesitant to rip it down and start again and use another service.
Yeah, this might be outdated information now, but it was around the 70% mark of all DSPs. Spotify is 70% of all traffic for listening to music. So,
Wow.
your Deezer, Pandora,
Yeah,
Apple Music, etc. Spotify is 70% of that entire market.
so crazy.
Hmm.
I think one of the things they do very well, this is going a little bit off now, but they advertise Spotify free and you can actually just listen to podcasts on it. Obviously, the
Hmm.
podcasts within themselves might have adverts,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you've tried listening to music on Spotify free, dude, but it is a new version of hell that I've never really been to before because it's usually like, oh, you want to listen to this Arch Enemy song? Have five Ed Sheeran songs, two Billie Eilish songs, listen to an advert telling you that you need to buy premium, then we might think about putting your Arch Enemy song on. And you're
Uh,
like, okay, I'll just pay for this.
yeah, I've had paid Spotify and I don't know, for as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
Um, there's no way I could deal with that. Absolutely not.
yeah, yeah. It's a crazy world out there, but yeah, we do what we can to get by, don't we? How can people get involved in SickSet Media? You mentioned onboarding earlier. If there's
Yeah.
a new current band that wants a little bit of help, how do people actually start the application process for you guys?
So we have a contact form on our website, or you can DM us on any social platform that we're on. In terms of the process, typically, I advise a consultation. So we offer a free initial consultation, and that's to go over the band, where they're at in terms of their level of development, but also their assets, so their production, videos, where they're at with socials and all that kind of stuff. And then discuss what we offer as a service and figure out how we can align with what their primary objectives are. So, with most PR agencies, they don't offer digital marketing as a side. So, if you're speaking to a PR agency and you're having a consultation with them, you know the one service that they offer, and you're there having that conversation because that's what you're interested in. Ours are slightly different in the sense of we're there to figure out for that band what is the best move for them, where is the best place to put that budget that they've set aside for promotion,
Mm,
because it's not always PR, it's not always Meta, it's not always YouTube. What I often advise to smaller bands, and I'll definitely get some shtick for
mm,
saying this, but what I recommend to smaller bands is digital marketing first and PR second. And the reason for that is the best way to grow a fan base nowadays is through digital marketing, which is a big statement, but most people nowadays are sat doom scrolling on their phones, versus traditional media. So, in terms of growing a fan base, the best place to do that is via digital marketing, typically through YouTube or Meta. And what is a band if it doesn't have a fan base and then it pushes itself out for reviews in, press? It almost seems counterproductive. You need to have a fan base before you then push yourselves out to third party media to talk about you, in my opinion.
mm,
So I will often advise younger bands, start with marketing, develop a small but consistent, real, loyal fan base, and then once we're there, then we'll start to push out to radio and press, etc.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, just going back to your initial question, just contact us through our website. I'll be back in touch. Hopefully, we'll organise a consultation. That's what I typically recommend, unless you're very confident in knowing exactly what you want. We'll
Yeah,
check
yeah,
that through,
yeah.
and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I hope that this does drive some more bands towards you. I don't know if you're drowning in bands, but it's always worth advertising and promotion, isn't it? Whenever you can get it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Absolutely.
Absolute bedlam. So, we've just made a little bit of a joke about marketing and how awesome it is and how rad it is. How do you, Daniel, keep marketing sexy? And how do you keep it like it's one of those things where it's like no one wants to talk about car insurance and PCP lease agreements, but
Yeah, yeah.
everyone wants a new car. Everyone wants their band to do well and have loyalty and get a concurrent number of streams on Spotify, etc. But how
Mm.
do you sort of market that, I suppose? Marketing, Inception. How do you talk to up and coming bands about the value in marketing?
You're trying to tell me that all of the previous marketing talk has sent you to sleep?
No,
Because
not at all.
that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting
Still
here.
got my
Okay,
loop
so
here.
so in terms of how we keep marketing sexy, I suppose, is firstly the fact that bands hate marketing and they
Yeah.
hate social media 99% of the time. They
Yeah.
just really, really, really hate it. So in being able to say we're
Mm.
really good at that and we actually like doing it, we will take this away from you. I
Yeah.
think that that message in itself is pretty sexy,
Yeah.
you know. And ultimately, whilst I know we're joking about it being the most unsexy thing in the world, which it is, it's the outcomes that matter. So if somebody is able to sell 50 tickets to their show instead of one, if somebody is able to sell out their new merch run of 100 t-shirts, etc. If someone's on Spotify and they've got, I don't know, 500 followers and they've been going for 5 years and they've seen no progress at all. And then one day they took the dive and thought, you know what, I really, really haven't want to. I didn't want to do this for the past 5 years because it feels like a waste of money, but I'm going to take a punt on it and give it a go. And at the end of that month, they're suddenly sat on double the followers within their Spotify and they see that it was actually worth the value. All of that is kind of the sexier part. It's the outcomes that are sexy. It's not the process.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. There's also this like crazy resistance to reels, and I absolutely despise TikTok. I think it
Mm,
is such a crazy attention deficit landscape, and I don't even have it on my phone.
mm,
And I actually have a TikTok for Absolute Bedlam, and I
mm.
just don't want to swim in that pool because I've seen people scroll TikTok. I've gone on this train a couple of times now, and it's just not how people should consume content, in my opinion. Because
Mm.
it's just do, 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 do. And I just don't know how anyone gets any value out of that personally. For that app just seems like an absolute completely opposite to what I would expect people. They want to learn things and they'll go on YouTube and learn how to fix their car,
Yeah.
learn a song on guitar or something.
Mm.
But yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? How the social media seems to sort of change and we have to adapt or die based
Very
on
much so.
what is,
Yeah.
you know,
And I
trending.
mean, it is similar to YouTube. It's just short form content instead of
Yeah,
long form. There will be videos on TikTok of some bloke teaching you how to change a tire, but just very, very quickly.
yeah,
That kind of
yeah,
stuff does exist on there. But
yeah,
I know what you mean from
yeah,
a negative, on the other side of it, the negative side.
yeah,
It needs to be used responsibly. And I think there's some countries that are considering an age restriction on it now,
mm,
because it's it's bad for people. It can become very addictive.
yeah,
But
mm,
again, it's kind of it just is how technology has progressed and changed. And for us as marketers, especially working in the entertainment industry, it's a great platform. We don't provide any advertisement through TikTok. Paid ads are significantly more
Okay.
productive through Meta. But any band, and you sound like most bands I speak to on consultations
Yeah.
are very, very heavily against the use of TikTok.
Mm.
Less so due to sort of moral reasons, but more they just don't want to. The phrase that I always get is, I don't want to do TikTok dances for my band to blow up. But the thing surrounding that is people have been saying the whole dances on TikTok quote now for, I don't know, as long as TikTok's kind of existed.
Yeah. Well,
And
even
there
even
are,
when it was musically, I feel.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there are artists that have really, really blown up of all genres without spending any money on marketing,
Yeah.
purely because they have a very, very strong, consistent, and creative strategy
Mm.
on things like TikTok. Um,
Yeah. I feel
so,
like.
I mean, if
Sorry, go on.
no, I was just going to finish by saying if you know how to use it, and you can either stomach using it, or you just lucky enough to be a musician that enjoys it, then you will be in a very, very, very strong position.
Mm. I feel like people use TikTok specifically with an exit strategy. So, like, I'll put a TikTok up of a clip of one of our conversations, and it
Mm.
will do about 4,000 views in 30 minutes. And I think to myself, I could quit my job tomorrow now. Not really. But then I'll upload another TikTok 24 hours later, and it will get 6 views.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did I do differently?
Mm.
And my whole plan with TikTok is to get on it, play the game a bit, dance with the devil, and then get off it and then become a full-time YouTuber or
Mm.
become some other platform. You know, I just want to use that as a launching pad, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gets a lot of a bad reputation, I feel, because it is the most recent one.
Mm.
So maybe there's a bit to that where we all hate the big thing that has sort of steamrolled into the environment, you know?
Mm.
Because back in my day, it was Bebo, MySpace, and
Yeah.
that was
Same.
a lot, you know, and you would actively log in to the internet rather than it just being always on 24/7, doom scrolling at 3 a.m. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think with your kind of content, YouTube is obviously long form, and these
yeah.
podcasts are for that purpose. But in terms of TikTok, taking snippets
Mm,
from any of your footage, it's just finding that initial hook. It's the first sort of, I think it's 3 seconds that are the yay or nay for that content to work.
yeah.
So even if it's a really out there statement, or did you know X, Y, and Z, or whatever, something that makes people feel like, oh, a short little sentence that hooks their
Mm,
curiosity, that's what then makes them stick around for the remainder of that very short video.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you do have to be very tactical with it, because so many creators are being really tactical with it and playing with the psychology surrounding all of it.
Mm,
And again, they're the ones that are kind of getting more traction, because
mm,
they're really thinking about, how am I going to attain those first 3 seconds of attention that will then lead into the rest of my video being watched.
yeah.
Um, and it's leaning into that doom scroll mentality of figuring out, well, if I was doom scrolling, sat in bed, what would stop me in my tracks to watch a video? Because you probably skip five for every one that you give attention, and
Yeah.
it's figuring out why you do that and then replicating it.
Yeah. The last sort of 25 years, there's been a specific shift in the way that bands make money, where it used to be very heavily buy my CD, buy my tape, buy my
Mm,
vinyl, which vinyl is a weird one. It seems like a bit of an outlier, but we'll get onto that in a bit if you want. Now it's all about money through touring and gigging.
mm.
How do you personally experience bands making money and surviving in 2026 compared to when you first started? Has there been a huge paradigm shift?
Um, when you say started, do you mean started just in general being in the industry in a band myself, or with SickSet?
With SickSet, yeah.
So not with SickSet. I mean, SickSet is 3 years old now. So that's not an awful lot of time for there
Mm.
to be a huge industry shift. But with regards to kind of your question in a broader sense, I think since streaming has taken over physical, bands have had to rely on touring because it's the main place you're going to be able to sell physical product, being
Yeah,
t-shirts, merchandise, etc. And that goes from big to small bands across the full spectrum. And of course, selling tickets again, physical item, you're selling an experience, and the physical item being that ticket. Um, that is where most of the money is in the industry now. Which is why we try to emphasize with the meta campaigns that we run that it's not just about sending traffic to Spotify, whilst that is very beneficial in terms of the retention that we are able to achieve, etc., in the methods that we approach it with. But the real kicker is being able to gather people that are essentially at this point fans and be able to sell to them so that you're able to move towards your career from this is something that I enjoy because I'm just really into playing in my band into hopefully turning it into a sustainable career. But there is such a large strategy. There are so many aspects involved. One of them being luck, to be completely honest,
yeah,
that results in the success of a band from a financial standpoint.
yeah, yeah. There's always like a new goth band, or you got bands like Sleep Token who have just absolutely rewrote the whole book on how to be an anonymous band in the 20th century, 21st century, sorry. But like those bands seem so sort of Black Swan, you know?
Yeah, they are. And I think obviously with there was a lot of chatter around over the past 5 years, maybe even longer, about when will download festivals start to have different headliners that
Yeah,
aren't, legendary older school metal bands, and we've started to see that shift happen sort of over these past couple of years. Sleep Token
yeah,
obviously being a huge one surrounding all of that. Um, and no, it's good. It's good. Um, but it's also really odd because as someone that's been in a band for 10 years plus and really tried to push us out there and then moved over to agency side, um, I've never seen a band in the UK have anywhere near the level of success as what Sleep Token has had in such a short period of time.
yeah,
There was Neck Deep earlier on. They did very, very well. But I mean, the team and everything that's behind Sleep
yeah,
Token now, and various bands that are on the same management as them, they're all very, very much set. I mean, the existing manager of Neck Deep, Leander, he's now part of the agency that looks after Sleep Token as well.
right,
So
okay.
there's
Mm,
a huge collection of very high grade
mm,
talent um, in the management world that have essentially just all come together,
right.
which is of course now future history.
I heard something which I don't even know is true, so please don't clip this, people. Apparently, Sleep Token sell more merch than any other band in the UK. And I don't know if that's combined. That would be mental if that was combined. But when they do their links on Instagram, they usually put like obtain,
Yeah.
and they always use like old school sort of like ritualistic wordings like our sources have been depleted, please stand by and gather, and all this sort of stuff.
Mm.
I have personally experienced, as a huge Sleep Token fan, every single item selling out within about 10 minutes of that link going live.
Yeah.
And I even think to myself, fucking hell, this isn't even a band. This is actually just a huge machine of merch, like in the back end. And I think a lot of this actually comes down to my big theory with Sleep Token, that it's actually primarily listened to by women. And I've
Mm.
found personally from seeing them 4 times that women actually drag their partners to Sleep Token gigs. And I think there's something in female spending habits versus male spending habits that they spend more money on what they care about,
Mm.
whereas men are a bit more like, yeah, yeah, next month I'll get that.
Well,
A
it's
bit more,
stereotypical, isn't it? But
yeah. But
women are known for more.
that's just
Yeah,
my
yeah,
theory, But
yeah,
they've
yeah.
done something, you know. The results are very clear that they have done a very significant tectonic shift in the way that we consume music and stuff.
Mm. But
Yeah,
I can see that if their fan base is even just 50% female, that's significantly more than your average metal band. Um,
yeah,
and of course, as I was saying, women are definitely more into shopping and fashion than guys for the most part.
yeah,
Um, and so if your theory is correct, I agree with it. It would make total sense. And
yeah,
alongside that, aside from kind of the sex related side of it,
yeah,
Sleep Token have managed to build a brand around themselves that is so strong that whilst the gimmicky side of them basically having a cult of followers being their fans has
mm,
almost turned into like a real thing.
hmm,
And as a result of that, that's the definition of a super fan. Beyond that, in fact. And if you have an army of super fans, they are an army of people that will buy tickets, they will buy merchandise, etc.
yeah.
And kind of harping back to again what we provide as a service at the expense of sounding like I'm just trying to sell us up even more. That's
Sorry.
kind of the main objective of what we're pushing for. We're trying to find super fans for our clients. We're not trying to find passive streams because
Yeah,
they are the people that matter. They will stream multiple times, so you'll get, many, many worth of streams out of that one individual person, but they're also someone that will be willing to invest in your music in the sense of financially, but also if they like you enough, they're going to tell their friends about you as well. And that's an organic way that you're found, which is probably one of the best possible ways to be found
yeah,
beyond social media is one of your trusted friends that has good taste in music saying, hey, if you listen to this new band, they sound sick.
yeah,
And that's what we're aiming for. And Sleep Token have absolutely just ascended all all kind of expectation and any kind of other band that I can think of anyway over the past X amount of decades with their success.
yeah.
And it's also nice, again, having been in a band previously, because I've seen them when they were smaller,
Mm.
which a lot of people have got a lot of these stories. But I've seen them when they were small. I was very heavily involved in kind of the tech scene, like Tech Fest and all that kind of
Yeah, yeah,
stuff. And it's really wholesome to see a band that were part of that kind of scene be so successful. It's
yeah,
great to see.
yeah. You see the growth and the actual the work and the passion because
Yeah.
a lot of bands when they appear out of nowhere, everyone's like, "Oh, it's an industry plant,"
Mm,
and I'm just like, "Yeah, but I've seen videos of Sleep Token in like 2012 playing Reading on a very small stage,
mm.
and all their clothes look like they were from Team A B P compared to nowadays, where
Yeah.
they've got. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if they do. They've probably got costume designers.
Oh yeah. No, they
So
do.
it's
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
night and day compared to, but it's still the same members. You can still hear Vessel's voice and it's the same guy.
Yeah.
Um, SickSet Media Music Festival. How does that sound?
I'm too busy for that, my
That's
guy.
fair.
I'm way too busy for that.
Have you ever thought of that though, where obviously you've got a whole phone book of bands that you could immediately
Mm.
call upon?
Um, I mean, in principle, everyone has got their own. Uh, this would be my dream festival, or what? I mean, I'd really have to take a minute and think about who
Yeah.
who who I would put on that. But in terms of like actual practicality, I know I'm joking about it, but nah, it's super stressful. I put on shows before in the past when I was in
Yeah, man.
bands, and
Music
it'd be like
festival.
it'd be like a
Yeah.
four band 1 day event, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so stressful. I can't even
Yeah.
begin to imagine the amount of logistics and pressure and stress and from all sides dealing with that. So like you're right, I am positioned in quite a strong place to be able to potentially throw something together with various people that I know and having my
Yeah.
ear to the ground, especially in the UK scene, etc. But no. And alongside that, as a final thing, I suppose, it's becoming more and more of a saturated market. There are a lot of festivals. There are grassroots festivals, mid-level festivals, and then your massive festivals like Download or Bloodstock. And um, it's a very scary industry to go into, knowing it's saturated, because ticket prices are expensive for all festivals. People only have so many weekends that they can go and listen to live music. And for me personally, I'm at this age nowadays, I'm not going to exceed any more than 3 festivals every summer, because
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want to.
completely valid. Yeah.
I don't think I can do it
Yeah.
anymore. So like people have to kind of handpick which one they want to go to. So if you make a festival today with all of the other festivals that are currently out and active and thriving, I
Mm,
think that you would be at such a disadvantage.
mm. Yeah. Who are you currently looking at in the UK scene? Not even necessarily part of SickSet, but just in general. Who have you kind of got a bit of an eye on at the moment and you're watching the sort of potential spark?
Hmm. At the expense of plugging my own clients,
Do it.
because I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah.
Um, so uh, Hacktivist have had a little bit of a resurgence, depending on how you see it. So they've had a whole lineup change, which has been pretty scary for the band just in general. It's been exciting, but also scary.
Mhm.
Going into a new chapter, but also having the fear of how a fan's going to reciprocate to this, because when the vast majority of a band leaves, and various bands have done this, and you've only got a member or two of the original lineup still standing, there can be a lot of fear. But uh, they're one of our clients. We've listened to a lot of their new stuff. I know the producer that they're using. They've flown over to the US to have all of that put together. And it's all sounding very good, very fresh. They've still got their, classic gent rap vibe going on, but it's more of a twist. And I think it's really exciting. Once it's heard by the public, it will be for the public to make that kind of a decision. But as an artist that has gone from touring with the likes of Korn and Enter Shikari to having half of the band leave and still stay together, it depends on how you look at it. I think that's quite commendable, to have the passion and drive to still stick together through all of that is quite a big deal. So with those guys, it's going to go one way or the other, but I'm quite confident that it's going to be positive
Mm.
with the new stuff that I've been listening to. Um, Another one being Struck Down. So I mentioned them earlier. They're managed by a good friend of mine, Harry, from Hammer Down,
Brilliant.
and they've they've been pushing the organic train on things like TikTok and Instagram for quite some time. And they've really had quite a lot of success with it in terms of followers and across everything, DSPs and social media. I speak to bands quite frequently, and some of them are they kind of just want to be Slipknot, right? They're just like, I will write a riff, it will be good enough, and the I don't know, head of Sony will walk into a pub one day that I'm playing in, and they'll sign me, and I'll become the new Slipknot.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah, of
it's the
course.
wrong. It unfortunately, I mean, it's great wishful thinking, but it's the wrong kind of mentality. On the other side of that, I meet bands that are very driven. They spend a lot of time. They invest, financially as well as time into everything that they do. And Struck Down are one of those bands, and it's inspirational to see how much of a
Mm.
grind that they've put into what they've got going on. So
Yeah.
um, they're
Cool.
doing all of the right things, so I expect they'll do pretty well.
I'll have to check them out. Yeah, I'm always on the lookout for new music, but I just find that I get stuck in this like 7/8 band familiarity paradox
Mm.
where I don't know what to listen to because I can literally listen to anything I know. I'll listen to Russian Circles. I'm just a bit of a creature of habit. But yeah, I should use Spotify for more than
Mm.
what I already know is good, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always listening to new bands, always on the lookout. But yeah. So have you got any gigs or music festivals in 2026?
Um, I'm not putting any of my own festivals on. I'm
Okay.
not putting any of my own gigs on. But I am planning to go to Arctangent, Download, and Bloodstock this year.
Oh wow. Yeah, so that's the three. Is
Yeah.
Arctangent a weekend festival?
I'm only going to be going for the day, but it is a
Yeah.
weekend festival.
Hmm. Yeah. I do want to check that out. I just haven't really had the oh my God, they're playing vibe. I
Mm.
think, not to sound like I'm fucking sponsored by Russian circles, but I think they've played there a couple of times.
Yeah,
And I think there's a sense of loyalty that they will play that festival and people will go to it as they're like the driving force.
yeah,
I remember seeing like Tech Fest and Arctangent and all the funny, like, we butter the bread with butter.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
mental.
Remember
There's
them.
a band name, there's like Mystic Potato or something, or Potato
Destiny
of
Potato.
Destiny. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, they've
And
changed their name now,
yeah.
but they're a great band as well.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny at the time to like call your band that. And then actually you've got people like Daniel coming along and saying, actually, guys, you actually need to like rebrand and like
Yeah, well,
get
I mean,
some, you know.
if I hear there's a band that is, of rock and metal and they've got a name like Destiny Potato, I have to go listen to them now because they're called Destiny Potato, So
Yeah,
it's not necessarily a bad thing.
yeah,
But I can almost guarantee that they probably started out not very serious, just being a bit silly, and then accidentally realized, oh, we're actually really good and people really like our music and we're called
yeah,
Destiny Potato, and then they've just renamed. But I don't think they should have done that, but hey ho.
yeah. No, fair enough. Yeah. Couple more questions, and I'm gonna leave you to it. I am conscious of time.
No, you're all good.
Conscious that I'm probably gonna fucking pass out in a minute, but that's all right.
I do talk
Um,
a lot, so it's probably
yeah,
my bad.
that's all good, man. Um, are you a believer in the paranormal?
Um, the boring answer is no.
Okay. What's the
Fast
non-boring?
question. No, no, I'm not.
Okay,
Are
fair enough.
you?
Big time.
Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
Big time. So the more I think about this, the more I think that I'm probably like very young in this story.
Hmm,
But I visited my nan probably when I was about 4 or 5. And I remember she had a very big house, very traditional, very Victorian. And I woke up in the middle of the night. This is in Chester, which isn't a place that I usually go to. So it's like a foreign place to me. I went downstairs and I wanted a glass of water because it was the middle of the night.
yeah.
And I could absolutely hear someone crying in the kitchen, as absolutely pure as like it wasn't a leaky pipe, it wasn't a door, it was a woman crying. And I got some water and I went upstairs and I could hear footsteps behind me. But when
Hmm,
I'm little and impressionable and open to things like this, kids don't really think about stuff like that. So I went to sleep. I shut the door and I went to sleep. Next morning, I go downstairs and, talking about this now, I feel like I was quite a mature 4 to 5 year old.
hmm.
But I said to my nan, I heard something last night. And she goes, oh, yeah, that was Casper the Ghost. And she knew what I was talking about. So that freaked me out
Hmm.
because the easy answer to that is brush it off and pretend that the kid's
Yeah, yeah.
mental. but she
Yeah.
knew what I was talking about,
Mm.
and she chose to live there. And that blew my mind. And I
Okay.
watch a lot of YouTube, and a lot of it's bollocks. Don't get me wrong, I'm not
Yeah.
rose-tinted glasses, but the one big channel that I watch a lot is Sam and Colby, if you've heard of them.
No,
They're
but
very successful.
um, so if you're into that kind of stuff, I can give you one story that
Yeah,
I
do it.
think you'll enjoy. So I when I was living with my parents, my girlfriend came over and she went to the toilet midway through in the middle of the night. And when she came through the landing, she said that she felt something grab her shoulder as she was
Mm,
coming out of the bathroom. I thought that's dumb. I thought nothing of it. And then this was later brought up at a family meal, and my mum just started to kind of tear up when the story was mentioned, and I was just sat there like, what? Like this is just like a silly, like a silly thing that we were kind of making a bit of a joke about. My girlfriend at the time being paranoid or whatever. But my mum seemed to get really serious about it, and I didn't really understand why. And then went off and had a one-to-one conversation with my grandpa at the time. And I was
mm,
just like, what is going on? And for some background here, my grandpa and my nan and the vast majority of that side of my family are Christian, practicing Christians.
mm,
So um, later on, I found out that the reason why they were upset was because a year prior to this, um, my mum was under the impression that some sort of dark entity had latched onto me,
mhm,
right? I just put this down to just teenage angst because I was a teenager.
mhm,
Now the reason why they came to this conclusion was apparently I was acting very out of character. I was forgetting things that I'd said and all this kind of stuff that was said to me. Um, and they went to a priest, spoke to this priest. The priest was like, right, we'll come to the house. And they did like a full-on actual exorcism style, came and purged the house. And they went up into the roof. And there was and this is the part that's just going to sound like I'm just making stuff up, but in the loft was a Ouija board
yep,
and a pentagram that had been put on the ceiling. So again, me as someone that is not really very much into paranormal, I would just say that that's just the previous owners had some teenagers and they were just playing silly games in the loft or whatever. But to people that are very much more, either religious or open to the idea of paranormal, i.e., that side of my family, they were like, right, okay, well, the previous people have brought an entity into the house. It's latched onto Dan. That's why Dan's acting how he's acting. So we need to come in, purge the house,
mm,
make it clean, and then Dan will become normal again.
right.
Um, so I don't know any of this has gone on. I don't know any of it has gone on. But then a year later, this happens with my girlfriend Katie, and she
Yeah.
feels this thing grab her shoulder. So the reason why my mum and my grandpa at the time were freaking out was because they thought that it had come back and that it was trying to latch on to either me or my girlfriend at the time. Um, and then we moved house. So there you go. As a guy that's not really,
Yeah.
a big believer of that kind of stuff, I thought that would be a pretty good story.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Loved every second. Yeah. Oh, we need to do a SickSet Media podcast. Just
On
dedicated to creepy stuff.
just ghosts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're near the end of the interview now. So did you want to plug the SickSet socials, website? How do we get hold of you? Is it the contact
Yeah, so
form?
SickSet Media UK across Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, very businessy. And of course, sicksetmedia.com is our domain.
Mhm,
You can see an expectations page on there. So, what you could expect from all three services, from worst case scenario to best case scenario.
mhm,
There are previous clients on there as well that are strictly SickSet clients, but we also have on our homepage who our team has worked with. So, our team have, of course, worked with other agencies in the past, and that team have worked with much bigger players such as the Pretty Reckless, Pierce the Veil, Cane Hill, loads of really big bands. So that's great. So if I haven't managed to convince you from this discussion that we've had today that I know what I'm talking about, I can reassure you that our team absolutely do.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Absolute last question for you, then I'm going to leave you to it, bearing in mind we've got about 5 minutes left.
You're all
As
good.
someone from the UK who's probably quite self-deprecating,
Mm.
what are one or two things that you like about yourself?
What?
Yeah.
Man, that is a weird question. Okay. I like that I am, man, I feel like I'm on an interview. I'm quite an ambitious guy. I've always been joked about. I get joked about this from my friendship circle, and when I was in a band, I got joked about this all the time. So I'm known as the businessman, because if you're in a band, most people, big personalities, um, always, up for a good laugh, silly stories, etc. And I am all about that, but I'm also businessman because I
Yeah.
looked after everything that ever happened with
Mm,
Borders
mm,
when we weren't under official management anyway. I was always kind of the designator, negotiator,
mm,
micromanaging guy. And I've kind of taken that and all that energy that I had for my band, I'm now putting into SickSet Media.
yeah.
And I love that I am like that. I wouldn't be any other way. I think I would be really bored if I didn't have something to focus on like that. I think I need something like that to focus on to keep me sane. But it doesn't only keep me sane, it keeps me happy as well. So yeah, I'm a very highly kind of motivated, passionate guy. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Fantastic. What way to end? Yeah, this has been amazing. You're hired. When can you start?
Amazing. Amazing.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Thanks
And
for
thank you
putting
for
up with
having me.
me and my tardiness and watching me eat pizza before we recorded. It's not the first time that's ever happened, but I can't also guarantee it's going to be the last time.
No, it absolutely won't be. As I
It's
say,
been,
we're in a great industry where all that kind of stuff is acceptable. It'd be
yeah,
terrible if we were sat here talking about accounts, wouldn't it? But,
yeah.
you know,
It's just been
yeah.
grinding today, man. It's just been one thing after another. But
Mm,
I always say this though, like one of my absolute dreams is to have a manager
mm,
who's like every 15 minutes, you know, right, you've got a 30-minute break, Ben, go get some food. Then you're on a call with this company.
mm,
There's something about that I feel like I'd get the most productive day possible.
mm,
Whereas procrastination, people are a bit like put stuff off, don't we? And if you've got someone, I've always heard this as well, like apparently if you're like on a Skype call with someone throughout the day and you're both like editing a YouTube video or something, that
mm,
is the absolute way to do it. Because when you're just by yourself editing or whatever you're doing, you'll find reasons to not do it.
yeah.
You'll get distracted by something on the TV, or your parents will walk in, or something will happen, and you will divert your attention to that thing.
Mm.
Whereas if you've got someone in your ear telling you, you need to be here in 9 minutes, and you know, go to
Yeah.
the supermarket between 3 and 4. But
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of micromanage yourself a little bit.
yeah,
I know what you mean. It's a motivational thing that you're talking about. In terms of doing things that I don't want to do,
yeah,
I will have a weekly plan and I will
yeah,
have a day, set on like, right, this morning on this day, this is
yeah.
going to happen. And I know it's coming up and I know it's going to suck, but it's going to feel great when it is done. So
Hmm.
as long as I tell myself that
Yeah,
is, as if a manager above me has said, you have to do this on this date at this
yeah,
time and this is the deadline.
yeah.
Um, and it does get easier,
It does.
it does.
There's a really interesting business term called "eat the frog,"
Mm,
and it's
I'm
just
not
do it.
familiar.
Just
Just do
get it
it.
done. Just like have
Yeah.
an hour of shit. You'll feel better after you've finished it.
Yeah.
Don't put it off until 4 p.m. Do it
Mm,
as soon as you start work
yeah.
and just get it out of the way. It's going to be painful. It's going to be rubbish, but get it done. But yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. There we go. Life advice of Ben. Stay tuned for more. Cheers for coming on, Daniel. And yeah,
Thank you
everyone
for
check
having
out
me.
SickSet Media and tell them that they're sick.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy, dude.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.